the center of all love I stand, and from that center I, the soul, will outward move. From that center I, the one who serves, will work. May the love of the divine self be shed abroad in my heart, through my group and throughout the world. May the love of the divine self be shed abroad in my heart, through my group and
Good evening, everyone, from the Temple of Silence here in southern Finland. And we're continuing, as you know, our Ask programs. Ask, Seek, and Knock. This is sort of a little acronym that has to do with the principle of invocation. Well, as you know, there has been a lot of attention, necessary attention, given to the circumstances in the United States, which are very unsettled and have global implications. We are working as best we can for the preservation of democracy, the hierarchical form of government. We seem to have in the US so many people who do not care whether the democracy, the oldest of the modern democracies, is preserved. And we have also representatives and senators who apparently do not care. And so we do our best to strengthen that, and we'll continue tonight at 10 p.m. GMT. Still another 4 hours away. Right now, we always begin, these days anyway, with Great Invocation number 2, which was so effective during the Second World War 80 years ago, when it was issued to help bring the conflict to an end, not immediately, but the Lords of Liberation, Shambhalic beings, or at least beings who were working through Shambhala at the time, they responded in ways that we know very little about, but they responded and really saved the day, saved humanity, and saved it from a fall that might have taken humanity back to the very beginning, to its inception, to see whether the proper kind of responsive humanity could not be raised up. A horrible thought, and that thought cannot yet be dismissed, as the Tibetan warns us. Nevertheless, we continue our invocation. Let the Lords of Liberation issue forth. Let them bring succor to the sons of men. Let the rider from the secret place come forth, and coming save. Come forth, O Mighty One. Let the souls of men awaken to the light, and may they stand with massed intent. Let the fiat of the Lord go forth. The end of woe has come. Come forth, O Mighty One. The hour of service of the saving force has now arrived. Let it be spread abroad, O Mighty One. Let light and love and power and death fulfill the purpose of the coming One. The will to save is here. The love to carry forth the work is widely spread abroad. The active aid of all who know the truth is also here. Come forth, O Mighty One, and blend these three. Construct a great defending wall. The rule of evil now must end. We can sense the power in this second of the great invocations, and the further the investigation goes, the more dangerous the insurrection begins to look. So we stand in spiritual being and help the best we can. Our work right now is with the evocation of money for the emergence, the reappearance of the Christ. I know we're familiar with these ideas, but really, and it may seem strange that even the Christ and his hierarchy have need of financial resources to bring about the true reappearance, not some fantastical, through the clouds, white horse, all-conquering appearance, as is in the dogma of Christianity, which suffers from what Master Moria would say, a lack of co-measurement, a lack of the sense of proportion. And we remember that where there is no sense of proportion, there can be no true humility, and where there is no true humility, there can be no right action taken. So this is about the lack of money for the work of preparation. And the most important thing we can do right now and over the next century is to prepare in whatever way we can for the coming of the great Lord. Materialism is the problem, and that is basically a superficial form of perception which deems as real that which the lower senses present to consciousness. So we must learn to see through materialism, and Master D.K. has said that as horrific as the atom bomb was, when it was released in 1945, it broke the materialism under which humanity was subjugated. Well, that's on its way. Let's just say the foundation of superficial perception has been mortally wounded, and when you consider the most advanced occult scientists today, those who may not even know they are occultists but are on the borderland of discovering or rediscovering the nature of the ethers, we realize that materialism in the old sense cannot survive. So DK asks us to be practical and to force ourselves to look at conditions as they are, and thus arriving at a better knowledge of ourselves and of our motives. So I'll read a little bit, and you're probably familiar. I mean, I've been trying to read this book at least once a year, and I'm always surprised by the new insights that come from this little book. I'm talking about the Reappearance of the Christ. This is from the externalization, but it's a section that has been transported into the book, The Reappearance of the Christ. So our first issue is our own inertia. The inertia of the average spiritually minded man. This must be for the hierarchy a real ache in their heart when they see what could be accomplished, and how the Tamasic aspect just holds back those who are more rightly motivated. The Rajasic aspect of activity stimulates those who are so often materialistically motivated. You know, the ray of activity is prominent in their nature. The average aspirant, man of goodwill or disciple, is constantly aware of the challenge of the times and the opportunity which spiritual events may offer. The desire to do good and to accomplish spiritual ends is ceaselessly gnawing away within his consciousness. No one who loves his fellow men, who has a dream of seeing the kingdom of God materialize on earth, or who is conscious of the awakening of the masses, slow though it may be, to the higher spiritual values, but is thoroughly dissatisfied, are we. He realizes that what he contributes of help to these desirable objectives is little indeed. He knows that his spiritual life is a side issue. It is something which he keeps carefully to himself, and which he frequently is afraid to mention to his nearest and dearest. And that itself, is something that is very unfortunate. But we see it in so many families, don't we? We know that the nearest and dearest are against these spiritual ideas. And so many people then keep quiet about it. He tries to dovetail his spiritual efforts into his ordinary outer life, struggling to find time and opportunity for it in a gentle, futile, and innocuous manner. He finds himself helpless before the task of organizing and rearranging his affairs, so that the spiritual way of living may dominate. He searches for alibis for himself and eventually rationalizes himself so successfully that he ends by deciding that he's doing the best that he can under the given circumstances. I don't know, does that sound familiar to any of us at any point in our lives? So often, in marriages it is an issue when the spouses really have different orientations. And to bring up something so idealistic as the reappearance of the Christ and providing money for it is considered entirely unreasonable by one or other. The truth is, says the Tibetan, that he is doing so little that probably 1 hour out of 24, or perhaps 2, would cover the time given to the Master's work. He hides behind the alibi that his home obligations prevent his doing more, and he does not realize that, given tact and loving understanding, his home environment can and must be the field in which he triumphs. He forgets that there exist no circumstances in which the spirit of man can be defeated, or in which the aspirant cannot meditate, think, talk, and prepare the way for the coming of the Christ, provided he cares enough and knows the meaning of sacrifice and silence. Circumstances and environment must offer no true obstacle to the spiritual life. Well, this is, even if we have overcome this failing, there are just so many millions that have not. And then when the issue of money is brought into it, how money shall be spent in a home and within family circumstances, and when something so apparently idealistic as the reappearance of the Christ is proposed, then can come the battles and the rending of the fabric of family life. So we'll keep this in mind. It strikes me when the Tibetan says, well, perhaps 1 hour out of 24 is spent, just 1, maybe 2. That seems a small amount, given that the salvation of humanity is at stake. So I'll mark this down for the next time that I'm leading this meditation, and we'll continue. So end of reading, and our day is the 17th of January, 21. Now we can get into the meditation itself. Excuse me, I have to just make a little adjustment here. And let us bring in the white light for purification and for synthesis, so that we can ask ourselves these important questions and realize certain principles that perhaps we sometimes forget. And the first of these principles is the occult law. To those who give shall be given, so that they can give again. We can understand that this promotes the divine circulatory flow, which is so Aquarian in nature and so necessary from now on and into the coming age. It may be hard for us to realize, but it really is, as is said, better to give than receive. Of course, the giving immediately is evoking the getting, the receiving, and thus the flow goes. Now, in the light of the soul, we're asking ourselves some important questions, and we answer in the light of the soul. If money is one of the most important things needed today for spiritual work, what is the factor which at present is deflecting it away from the work of the hierarchy? If we could only understand the strictly symbolic nature of money, the creative prana for which it stands. Next question. What is my personal attitude towards money? Do I regard it as a great and possible spiritual asset, or do I think of it in material terms? Next. What is my personal responsibility in regard to money which passes through my hands? Am I handling it as the disciple of the Masters should handle it? The great Herculean story of the Hydra is a revelatory drama to which we are all subject in the actual world. Symbolically, there is a head of the Hydra, the second head, that we might call the wrong use of money. And so many millions, even billions in humanity suffer under this glamour, this physical head of the Hydra. Is there any sense in which this head of the Hydra, the wrong use of money has any power over us. And if that's so, do we have some method, some plan to overcome this imposition of a great thought form, a great glamour? Let us ponder on the redemption of humanity through the right use of money. Beginning with visualizing money in the world today as concretized energy, at present largely used for purely material purposes and for the satisfaction, where the individual is concerned, of purely personal desires. But now, visualize money as a great stream of flowing golden substance, passing out of the control of the forces of materialism and into the control of the forces of light. And then we say the following prayer with focused mental concentration and from a heartfelt desire to meet spiritual demands. O Thou, in whom we live and move and have our being, the power that can make all things new. Turn to spiritual purposes the money in the world. Touch the hearts of men everywhere, so that they may give to the work of the hierarchy that which has hitherto been given to material satisfaction. The new group of world servers needs money in large quantities. I ask that the needed vast sums may be made available. May this potent energy of thine be in the hands of the forces of light. And then we visualize the work to be done by those groups, those projects which claim your present allegiance. Any group which you know is attempting to carry out the hierarchical plan. And through the creative imagination, and by an act of the will, we see untold and unlimited sums of money pouring into the hands of those who seek to do the Master's work. I think we will find that the 10 seat groups hold the key, being representatives of the ashrams regarding how money can be creatively spent. And then we say aloud and with conviction and emphasis, he for whom the whole world waits has said that whatsoever shall be asked in his name, and with faith in the response, will see it accomplished. And we remember this occult principle, sometimes substituting the word light for faith. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. And this condition will exist, it's just a question of timing and our own dedication to the process. Now, we can ask the needed resources, the needed money for whatever group or project we have determined to support, and we say, I ask the needed money for, and then we name what we're asking for. And I can demand it because from the center which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. And in our creative imagination, we prepare to give our offering to the Christ. we say together, we have gathered in your name, Lord Maitreya. Be with us. And we offer him what we have set aside, what we have designated, what we have saved, what we feel belongs to him and to his work. The work which will see the divine plan actualized. And we close with a careful consideration of our own responsibility to the plan. This most important factor, the divine plan. We serve the divine plan. We serve those whom the plan serves, and we serve then those who serve the plan. And we are to be practical and realistic, he says, and know that if you do not give, you may not ask, for you have no right to evoke that which you do not share. We attempt to feel true love sweeping through us, and we have the fixed intention to express this love to all we may contact. It is the great attractive and selfless agent in world affairs. And as he says, it is the true love that is the only thing that will really save humanity. So we try to keep cognizant of the worthy projects. We try to be careful in how we spend. We try to give rhythmically to your chosen group or groups or organization who deep down are working for the Christ. This is not just, as you know, the rebuilding of edifices and church structures and the material element. No, it's not that. It's something that really stimulates harmony and elevation in humanity. So we will close with sounding the Om 3 times, precipitating love, wisdom into the world of the threefold personality. Thank you, friends. And we will persist along a number of different lines to support the emergence of the divine plan. The financial area being one of the most important. As DK said, it constitutes the crux of the whole problem. When you do think about all of the non-essentials on which, or towards which, the flowing golden substance is directed. So we continue tonight at 10 p.m. GMT with our vigil, and thank you for being here.